Page 3, praise to check on the for the founder who indulged in sin and destroyed him, the one gone beyond the brothers, but he perfected for the way, perfect in knowledge and in honor, so proud and Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God's infinite, the good and completely and fully awakened one, being now and sin destroyer, the glorious comfort, the system of the Catholic plan. I prostrate my offering. For the founder of the endowment of the way from beyond the Father's story. Knowledge endowed and destroying, glorious conqueror, the secure from the shadow, I prostrate my offering. For the founder of the endowed the one from beyond the Father's story. The knowledge and good conduct. Supreme God and human beings. The darkness is destroyed. The glorious conqueror. I prostrate my offerings to the when I was doing my tears, your body is whole. The three worlds. It's a friendly sign. That's the reality of the three worlds are not. The Savior has the great compassion. The field of miracle before these from the last ocean. To do the one wanted us to find my strength. The purity that brings one from affection. The virtue that frees one from the Lord wrong. That's of my reality. To the down that had the light and also showed the path to liberation. The holy deal qualified with the realizations. Who are devoted to the moral precepts. To do the land virtue I prostrate. Homage to the supreme order. Homage to the down refuge. Homage to the great Sangha. To all three ever devout homage. Before finally perfect virtuous actions, that the duty of life thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual liberation, a blend of the lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream of active lightning, a flood, faith conditioned things as such. Through these merits, my sentient beings attain the rank of all seeds, to do the faults and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Page 15. For the Heart Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Trinity. Thus did I hear one time. Together with great community. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in concentration and we thought not that full of fiction. Also at that time, the one that looked upon very practical, found perfection of wisdom. And we held those five elements then he the power of Buddha, venerable Shariputra, defenders for the body how should he lose some of the lineage strength and wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya tomorrow, defenders for the venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage, who wishes to practice the activity of profound perfection to look upon like this correctly and repeatedly. Well, empty and in this is not a holy form, all those uneveness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are into. Therefore, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristics, are produced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element of the soul, up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance and no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no thought of wisdom, no attainment, and also no attainment. Therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the ones who dwell on three times also manifestly completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, and relax in the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth until it's not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Ayata Gani Gani Paramani Parasangati Bodhisattva. Sharapucha, the Bodhisattva should guide in profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then Bhagavan arose from that concentration and completed the Bodhisattva Arya on the Vijayamara saying, well said, son of lineage. It is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you indicated. Even if others rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, then will Sharavana Puja, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avijayavana, those surrounding in their entirety along with the world of gods, humans, the swords, and the gods, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Page 25. Mandala. Daji Bhagavan Shin Dodan Rivadi Shin De Gemma. Sanje Jinje Mite Owaye Dogan. Naja Parashu. Janson Lama Dampa. Jenam Ye Sugar Gala Jenze Tintin. Jeda Zambe Duje Zima. Sabje Chuji Shala Abdu Sam. Tanguru Vanamanda Tamya Payami. Ye Judan Zoji Chaman Chanjo Pado Dani. Dagi Jujin Yeve Sonamji. Sanje Doga Shu Sanje Judan Zoji Chana. Chanjo Pado Dani Jasamji. Jujin Sonamji Doga Benji Sanje Doga Shu. Ye Judan Zoji Chana. Chanjo Pado Dani Jasamji. Dagi Jujin Yeve Sonamji. Doga Benji Sanje Doga Shu. Longe de Doga. Wajamewa, Chaumewa, Bamewa, Mewa, Madela Chaze, Bandeza Lamara Moji, Dagijo, Benedijani, Bodijibe Ganesha, Kozontuji, Moto, Zeto, so. Why down so Terence in the day? Niade, Ranijibu didn't reach the Maimba. Rana Kadin Chive, Tidig, Pomani, Zoju, Simji Tamjela. Nipamba Bashi, Rachid. Actually, is and the Guno, which is Shwasra.
Correcting our intention, one will listen to this class, not just for oneself, but for the sole benefit of sentient beings who have been kind to oneself, like the parents of this life. So conjoining the mind with that intention.
아야, 나, 가금 라고는 스트리, 네, 경험 신기네. 전jo, 비슷한 리스트 유충한테 껴서 원인이 된 가금 그랬어.
Joyce, that today we have the chance to hear the advice of this text composed by His Holiness. Fortunate in that regard, rejoice.
아야, 당한저, 네, 나다, 체딩하게, 모두 차대고 요래. 네, 다 둘레지만에, 예, 차도록 무슨 피지. zulunga funju mangbo ta top de ra shuya ko ga ra de re shedan di yu ne yangya de ma gi ji nyam len gi da mangbo ji ma nyam len che ji ji mi ji ha ro ji ko ya ji gol sam dan di ge wa tyab ro da de la tangbo lam tu mo de ngi jung chan ju sim dong ni ne shen yi den ju di ye shi de dila de bezen che ore se de ma za re se ba 디제 야고면은 아니 nga 가져 냠는 체는 싫어 용어 말했어 봐.
So continuing with our look at the tantric vehicle with the imminent visit of Jada Rinpoche, under which we will have the opportunity to take those empowerments and so forth. Although we might look at Tantra as being specifically meditating on the deity and all that entails, without the foundation or common basis of the uncontrived thought to emerge from cyclic existence renunciation, the bodhicitta, emptiness, and correct reliance on the spiritual friend, without putting effort into those four as a foundational basis, one's tantric practice won't be successful or won't be good.
다 저는 만차 디더 럽중 싱거를 봐다. 만차 싫어 저시 싫어 쉬고 말해요. 니 상월로 배진 하고 그래. 만차 하고 그랬어 봐. 지금 된다. 람림즈 로 하고 오면은 람림로 봐. 람림나서 세고요래. chanju gu sem da tu yu ne be kulong ka du je da da na re an ni jung la da su su ge tu yu ge ko we ge ne lu long je la ni mu me wa wa yi de me wa pa ka zo pa be zen che je na dung ye ge dung ye ma ma sto de ge da ni de le cho men jo da dung ye de le ta be ta wa to gu do su mi jung ye ge de la ni jung de la 콜레 텐드 짬마인 바 콜레 트웬드기 짬마데 타워 트니 일로지 디니 제주 니딩스를 전하네 진창 샤고레스로
Most of you have studied or know the particular qualities of devotion to the spiritual friend, having studied the Lamrim, the sequential stages. Also, you will be familiar with the awakening mind of bodhicitta, what that entails in terms of an intention. In terms of the uncontrived thought to emerge or renunciation, it is that we would view cyclic existence as having no essence. It's true, isn't it? It is not stable in cyclic existence because whatever we strive for within it tends to morph into suffering. But we should understand that the thought of renunciation has kind of like two aspects. It's not just the thought to be free of the cycle of existence, but it's also the striving for the liberated state.
어야 다 디네다 돈이 다 망보지 고요래 네 그런서 돈이 곰시 람사 돈이라 처매요 뭐래 미다와 데마 상당로와 미다고네 준제 상당 안데 우줄레 데마 상당 유튜브레 데마 상당 차제레 데메 준제레 데메 딘준 차제레 데메 딘준 민간 다이선지 딘준 어떤 상당 거래서라
And although we have heard a lot about emptiness or heard about emptiness and meditated on it, we can't jump to that understanding all at once. We have to go through certain stages, such as meditating on impermanence, the law of cause and effect, how that every effect has a cause, how that things are made up of parts and part possessors, and then finally, how phenomena exist in mere name. One has to go through these steps.
다 근데 다 단다왕 대양자 직세션은 야고요래다 주디 너라 루스바 남바 남바 산제벌라 주베 코드 카레스바 남 미지 남바 참마저 그래서는 잠도레스바 군조선을 제스 잠도요나 남바선은 잠도세야디 니 껴비우 군조선게 초서 스스 심디야 도레 심과 도르선다 군조선 켄스다 잠도치스가 이수수 겨와데 랭이 뭐뭐 사소스 시르도 시니 미다고 상나 다연데 시니 아니 냐올지로 순돌을 깨나 베사레스 비교배가 네바디 군조선 야지 레샤스 잡로치 삼 코와딜레 데 제나 동해냐레샤 데 딜레 따접 tumye지 군조 숨메시지 민도스르와 이제는 견한서 잡로치스 심지 탐제기 된제 tumye다 민도스다 간다 zamlingde 난다 지금 감들 민도스 산제 군조 군조 숨야지 레미시지기 심지 탐제기 된지니 민도 심지 탐제 동해레 깨베시도 군조 손을 잡스로치스 아니 대자마세 다 믹세 티징기 겸로들라 심지 탐제 아니 거하는 녀석 동해레 깨베시도 군조 손을 겸로데 티징 겸로와 티징 겸로레스로
And okay, so then understanding about empowerment. Firstly, looking at the door to being a Buddhist, what makes one a Buddhist? The entranceway to being a Buddhist is refuge, that one takes refuge or goes to the direction of the three jewels. Understanding the possibility in this life of having done lots of non-virtues, who can protect one from such a result of the going to the lower migrations. So reflecting on the potency that only the three rare sublime ones has the ability to do that. First level. Second level, even in this cycle of existence, its nature is dissatisfaction and suffering. Again, turning to the three jewels to protect one from those discomforts and sufferings. And finally, all of the sentient beings in this world all need help, and only the three jewels can protect them, particularly with regard to the great vehicle. We look towards, or we look upon all sentient beings and the protection of them from the lower realms and cyclic existence, Mahayana.
다 ngāgi jamrodi 아니 디르 심지 탐제 거와당에 송그 동회래 뮤르디 잡으시 있으와 뮤르디 잡으시 세 jamro체나 ngāgi jamro 아니 자위래 겨도지 창 자위 숨야 인데로 tomba전인데 투갈라 이 겨도지 창 관보이나 아니 야고를 자위를 왔다 동제네 뮤르디 잡으시 뉴드 코딩에 좀 동네 제바지고도 스티자로치 이제 잠도 채나 나가 잠도 잘도 그래서라
Particularly taking refuge from a tantric perspective, that sentient beings be afforded protection from the lower realms and cyclic existence in general, but that it happens quickly or quicker. And here, the refuge object is Lama Doji Chang or Vajradhara, depicted at Shakyamuni Buddha's heart.
다 딘데게 jamdo dindeji yuna nama sanje we tele tsuwa ache 다 dine semje di yuna ani tego chimbe chela tele tsuwa semje sidi 다 gyawachi ya do rangi jingwe do den duwa mamba semje tamje ji ani di den duwa ge che do samlo damba yina ani di lo di susu jule yuna ani susu tego chimbe tele tsuwa re 팀에는 다 가져를 롭존체 가져 시나에 근데 쌤되면은 네 대보시 못해 수고요 말해서
Now, refuge then being the doorway under which one becomes Buddhist and under which one becomes a great vehicle practitioner or a Mahayanist, generating a mind of awakening of bodhicitta. Here one's virtues accumulated for all sentient beings' well-being and mind and their final well-being of bliss. And if you have such a thought of them in mind, sentient beings, that is the great vehicle. If you don't have that thought of their welfare and placing them in final well-being, no matter how much you study, no matter how much you listen, it doesn't become Dhammayana.
나드네 응와를 주베 고디 완토고 요레스라
Now, the gateway to Tantra is receiving empowerment.
다 완딜라 왕진다 제나세로인데 주디 주도 오마라 주유는 저 라미 주도라 왕다 채왕이 명디 알면 왕진인데 요마래와 ele jenang sia ji chinlab sia tanye de yores ro
So in terms of empowerment, we have empowerment proper, but there are also what are called subsequent permissions. Here you are permitted to practice, but it's not similar to an empowerment, and these mostly coming from the lower classes of Tantra, these permissions to practice.
adine nga lami la jena wang sirwa da de la wang sidu wang sia di jena la ya di hadi su komya ge topdan yo was jire ro hadi da di da wang da jena thomna ane su tame ge na wa de pa ka je su ra ni le mo le je yu din jire wang ma thomna na ti komya yo ma re dun la dun ji che kya tu kom cho go ra su komna di gre idam khare komna Rwasan Jiksumla Soba, and Idam Kare, Javila Komna, Joyo Marade. Wanda Jena Madamna, Suzurani, Hadima Giadi, Chuyo Marwa, or this and some Dishamburesra.
So in terms of the Jainangs and empowerments, it gives one permission to meditate as oneself as the deity. You know, if not, you can visualize them in front in the refuge field, but you can't generate yourself into that. There is a border there.
Adine, Malamedo, you know, Wandilaya, Puma, one she said, one said, Nirani Lamo Jola, the Lul Helukewa, ne Kambato, the Shea Company, Tewa, what the Regi, Mixe, your rest.
In highest Yoga Tantra, there are the different parts of the empowerment, for example, the vase empowerment and being able to visualize oneself as the deity or having the body of the deity, and that the place you dwell in is the celestial mansion or palace, abode.
Chidanda Delaya Danzo, Jime, Tiligore, Idam Tamdi Ngadi, any Tiro Haza. Lame one she yorwa Gileada, Umbe one someone she one see one sheep, one she yore. Pumbe one the Caresana, Luigi Divatajerwa, Luigi Divata. Any lam, lam girim dam, so rim say lam grimba. lam jiren gombo la onwa che ro debu de sanje yu dugu dwe ro sanje yu gu la dugu lungu chugu si ro sanje ji ni dube gu dwe ya ge ni dugu du ji ge ni wa sha so on chen da de jime wan na yun de zo wan da chö ro wan da chö je ni wan da ma chen wan to gu yo ma re ni de ka ma song yun de wa da de re sha si ra chö ni su sim na la me wa che ji kom de gi na de wan to gu re wan da ma chen na 왕제를 되네 삼나신달라다 되나 가져에 바자단 바데시나 왕토야 요마 라마게 있는 막 곰단라 병으로 디디딜 심마잉 바체 외관의 심샤지 데투이나 이샤마딤 치토이나 아니 음 갈서버래 완다 트레나 완토버래 완다 마트레나나 완텔레 되나 완토 말해서
The High Griever empowerment will be given, Highest Yoga Tantra, having 4 parts: Vase, Secret Wisdom, and Word. The first one, Vase, relates to the physicality or the body. And in Tantra, there's generation stage and completion stage. This first empowerment, the Vase empowerment, relates to generation stage, that you are leaving the imprint or latency to have the body of a Buddha, the Manakaya or Sambhavakaya body of a Buddha. And what's important in terms of receiving this is knowing, in a cognitive sense, oh, this is this, and this is what you're getting. Because if you're distracted and you don't hear it, you can have 100 of these, but not get it. So one should be aware of what the master is doing, as it's explained.
아니 네 분배원들 망보지어래 추주면 시제다 저도 망보지 대나마신은 수수 셈데다 가되나 이 류기 디바 타야 체데 산제주구 두구두야 누가자야 체데 수수 류기 디다 타야 체데 산제주구 출라 구 출라 톱소만 상로와 근데 전혀 삼단데나 야거르신 부모한테 망보셔 나세 망보셔져래 와지네 내지나게 저거는 말에 리시게 그러들래 왕주지 등 왕국의 담을 열도 상마 아니 삼로 된데스 탄토이나 망보 서르머르 망보 땅 말해라 아니 마 남에 마베세 수술이야 류기 디디차 누바총 아니 람기린 좀 보고 람기 지른 고메 누바총 아니 산제 유튜브도야 누바지 수술라 중성 텐제 이제 지도이나 담아들 하러 아니 왕토고 열어봐
And with the vase empowerment, there are many different substances, many kind of parts to it. But it's not necessarily important to worry about all those different things. What is important is that you concentrate that what's being purified are misdeeds of body, and that you have planted the latency to actualize the body of a Buddha. And once again, you also have the imprint in terms of generation stage to actualize that body of a Buddha. Those are the main things to concentrate on.
but tene sawa wan to yundu ani nga gi ti ja wa nga gi ti ja ani sanje sumgi nuba to ya chen lap to ya ani lam zorim ko me ya nuba to so te ani sanje ju ku de lungu to ya nuba sha so chen go res ro
And with the secret empowerment, one's misdeeds or non-virtues of speech are purified. One plants the latency or seed to have the speech of the Buddha, actualize the speech of a Buddha, and from amongst the two of generation and completion stage, this is related to completion stage, and one also plants the latency to actualize the longku, the enjoyment body of the Buddha or utility body.
동바사 xianwang to yundu yi gi di ja wa yi gi di jang song ten ani lam ta zorim je gyulu wese kum ya nu ba to gyulu wese se jo Tene ne kudi chugutabji niwa chongsong tenrwa chugugu. Chugutabya niwa chongsong tenduna digor.
And then the wisdom initiation deals with purifying non-virtues of mind. And this is also related to the completion stage of the path. One is then permitted to meditate on illusory body and clear light and actualize the wisdom mind of a Buddha or the Yeshichuku, wisdom truth body, excuse me.
Tene Taiwan chundi lunga yesum jija sabe tigri thaya rwa. Lunga yesum jija sabe tigri thaya. Ane sanje ju kusung tu chi la joya rwa. Ane lam da dire kasara. Zorim nange gyulu wese Rama wese, wa wese, da zorum ki nang chashe chire dawa. Gyulu wese rwa wese. Ani dewi di songju yuku toya gani washa. Songju kuku rwa. Songju doji chani kuyo rwa. Wadi toya gani wa chungsong chindu na ani digor.
And the word empowerment is the simultaneous purification of non-virtues of body, speech, and mind, and that the blessings of those qualities of Buddha's holy body, speech, and mind have been planted in you, the imprints. The path again relates to the completion stage, and this relates to actualizing clear light, meditating on clear light, and the result is the union of the two bodies of a Buddha, the mental and form bodies.
Oda di wan shi ani kudun rosh, da dukdor shire. Chidami nima wanda ten wura, da sima yungba shi. Yawu nyingor, ina yako dinde yungure lapshe di shu pinga dunga ma ngara wang tangbo shuwa zhide wang sa nga sa chi go tsuwa marwa. Ani wang di kushu panarama chi gyume nangre, jikje baji wang ti, nyungdi, nyawa nyungdi, peche chuni sigmendo. Dezen mangbo chigmendo, dezen chik che, te tsar sum ti, yaw mara dinde tuzo mangbo dinde tiya ke mendo, tuzo tundu chi ti. Dezen di zoba taka gyarshi tingma sumri chi kya wani, susu tuyo chi, susu gomjari rwa. Dezen tudu tabi shini shingyo marawa chi kaan, ani tanda nga togo, zan tsamba de din jo yor pe dharam samge, ma tsanggang jo dinang sha sha ra. Kurang ge dinde chi wang rodan zuzu ya waji gochu gudo, ani kurang da tirin, odi shigir das rwa tirin di, ani jirim kadu kuti shigir res, ani pe, odi dinde res, tirin zorim res, tirin dinde da, lo gyulu re, wese shigir res, sungju shigir res, she yodi. Ji ya chöral mandu khuna da dinde su amjo na ji lu ba yin za ine lamya ma ta tangi khurang ge siya de dharan resha sro dharan resha se je ne semna le pendo shin bu shu chwa ma ran ji de tangi di dang ran zo pa zi chudo re chudo ge tu je pen to ya chi de ne dus mo de du che re je zan de chang zo amjo yang sen sin 뭐 산이와 막 나연데 원더 투네 베미시 탄단데 뭐지 차그라 야배하고 레스티라
So it is good if one can receive these empowerments or these four with concentration, without distraction. When I first received my first empowerment on solitary hero Yamataka from Panorinpoche, I didn't know really much or anything. There wasn't much time to write things down or to reflect on each stage or even to meditate on it. It's just a short time and to receive it. So in that context, it was very useful that I knew a meditator that I could go and ask, what's going on? And he would say, well, today there's this stage, there's that stage. today there's generation stage, tomorrow completion stage. At this time there's illusory body, at this time there's clear light. And laterally I was able to clarify those teachings with others, like during debate and so forth with lamas. That was very, very useful. So we are fortunate if we can know basically what's going on. So that's why I think it's good as we are Dharma friends, if I share these things and you listen again and again, then you'll get a good, excellent understanding.
Oh yeah, 다디 지시로 지금 두두로 직제로.
That's a really pithy
딱
explanation.
계신 건저 참진에만 데스트레이션에 말해.
Where did we leave off in the text?
다 되게 산지지 구시 당한서 연대 틀려지 거도 말해.
Yeah, tenli ko marwe.
봐. 아,
No, not 87.
되게 산지지 구시 당 연대 틀려지 거 당도 말하는데 네 강한데 얘도 계속 더 뒤로 살아.
Yeah, the qualities or activity, qualities of Sangeki kusuntuki yende marwe.
되는 말도 셔. 다 되는 말 되게 산지지 구시 당 연대 틀려 거 되는 말도. 아, 이제 주주도 산 봐. 되는 말도 셔. 주가 들어와. Dewu sanje ji gu shi dan yin de chile ji ko sero teda konde shewe donga ge lam de na la de ne tume sanje ji gu te la yang smi de kesin sanje gu she re ngo ni lon zo je da ji shi wo du da chu gu zan de na ma shi ne yang da je si ngo ni gu yi shi chu gu long gu tu gu chi da mo ngo ni ne sa ju yun ta ma do je de we ding zin yi se re da de gu shi de ji de she ja shan na ya wo do ma de na ma ko do sha da kesin do sa yu na
Yangyuri ya labimbe.
kyo yu ma.
Okay, so going again through the 4 bodies, qualities and activities of a Buddha. The nature, page 89, the nature, complete enjoyment, likewise emanation, truth, as well as activities are expressed as the 4 aspects of Buddha's bodies.
다 내가 전부에 배나 사주 균 담아 권론 도지 대비 띵인진 인식도 도지 대비 띵인진 인식에 네 띵인진 배됐다 나 치료기 겐 난기 겐 간대지 태나 시계 민교치와 아래 동반이는 냐바시베 띵인진을 난가 대비 띵인진 세로 도지 대비 띵인진 세로 아니 미지버스 싱기 냠바시베 싱기 남바치베 띵인진이 민다다 하잖아요. 띵인진이 질레래야 하는 거 상다여와 알하버드 도지디다 팔람거 도지디네로 아니 네 대자 도지데베 띵인진 기 생각나 기다 사잡도 시립세워 봉도 그래서 그래서 당아서 디버들라야 아니 방자들라 뉴드다 시립세니 요셔와 뉴드디 저 타워터발라 파트 주지 디바들라 뉴드스 다 시립세야 돼저 산지지 고마 타발라 파트 주지 디바들라 시립스는 시요레스로
Here, under nature body, through the Vajra-like or diamond-like meditative stabilization at the end of the continuum of the 10 grounds. Here, this is a type of single-pointed concentration where no outer or inner obstacles can disrupt, because that's the meaning of Vajra or diamond-like meditative equipoise. There's also space-like, immovable. There are many different types of meditative stabilization. Here, diamond in the sense that it's Vajra-like or diamond-like, in the sense that one is close to Buddhahood because one is vanquishing the obscurations to omniscience, where, which is the subtle level, whereas the gross ones pertain to the obscurations to liberation. So of those 2, we're dealing with the latter, obstructions to omniscience.
제가 다 tinday 그 번역이 남들라야 아니 먼저 초람 조람 대진기 초람 조람 통람 고나 밀어람 시와 다 디기생 직 도인치 소람 디 아니 소람이 내가 될라야 소람 중무 딩 첨보 조람 트여지 모서와 주죠 동람들라 냠샤 바제멜라 남들람 데네 아니 고람세디 양자 고람사 주체 아니 인데기 균기 탐에 바제멜람세디 균기 탐아 셈젠지 셰베 균기 탐아서래 셈젠지 셰베 균기 탐아 되게 아니 슈딥 답방자 감송게 녀모 탐제 방연데 티탐베 남들람시 야 토연데 대대베게 아니 디니방베 tima 디니 있으리다 시립다 윤디니 너왜 tima 타다 방베 가 방바 오니 구세데 한당조 산제 육구나 오니 공어를 치고라 오니르데 네 tima 타다 방베 방바 냥데데 산제 육 냥데데라 오니 구스고라 더단데 셰르와
Okay, so we're talking about the actualization of no niku, or the nature body, which is the abandonment of obstructions to omniscience, or the state of having abandoned all adventitious defilements. And this occurs, as was mentioned, in a sequential way, beginning with the path of accumulation, with its, initial, medium, and vast levels, or small, middle, and great, and then the path of joining or training, then the path of seeing, and so forth, going up through the bhumis, and each of those bhumis having like an uninterrupted path and a liberated path. And when one gets to the 10th bhumi, the final subtle obscuration to be eliminated, from that uninterrupted to a liberated state, one actualizes a nature body of a Buddha, free of adventitious, pure of adventitious defilement.
근데 바제멜란 디 탐베 남들란 토와나 dimni luwe tima tada bangbe bangbade ngoni gu towa ni luwe namda cha dans ta de tedawa de sanje juye ene ko nende ave de tenjuwe lu seksa shigisre
Ranshinelo.
동니 레서 와와 고네 동니 레라 tenjuwe lu 고네 동니 바 간제스레 균진 시거와 균진디 다 도지대비 바제멜랑게 네 담배 두바 디미루버 방베 방바지여와 테레베 타베 나 두바나바테베 타자지여와 타자딜라 네가 타메베 내갑소스 하나저 탄데 내갑소스 탄저제 심기딩기다 심기딩기 심기딩기 아니 란신 네릭스 되베스 란신 네릭스 동반이들이야 동반이스 저거에 심기 띵기 때don 티니 내유 타지메 산제지 그 남전지 띵 동반이들 송화데 아니 라신남다 이 차단서 테레베 남바타와니 도베 원이위스 다데 줌젠디 맞죠 줌젠디 텐주벨라 돈이 고딘 버드베 레라와 요마레 고딘 돈이 바데 드베 레라와 천이 요마레 내 고딘 닝저베지 송도와데 베니도 송도와데
So, having then actualized that true nature body due to the meditative stabilization on the 10th ground, in terms of the liberated path, acting as an antidote to the last of the subtle defilements, that's a factor of purity, free from adventitious defilement. But there's a second thing here, another thing here, which His Holiness alludes to, in terms of here, the emptiness being a true cessation from the perspective of Madhyamika, also the emptiness of true existence of the mind that previously during the ordinary state, so here we're talking about the empty nature of our own minds, was posited as the naturally abiding lineage, Ranshingi Nerik, providing the capacity to develop into Buddhahood, becomes fully transformed. So with that final removal of adventitious stains, this second thing here comes fully transformed, which was already abiding at the ordinary state.
지산디 kokhagoyo 와 kokhago요 렌로요 말해 이거래서는 김진 가래라는 망배직이 미다고래 텐도 거 가서는 돈이는 따고인 거로 아디 미다고 차차 도도 군조된 뭐 차야 미다고 많이나 군조된 뭐 차가 진유 방법스라고 진유 세베 세워로 마사 마제군디 요마라 치수산제 사회지 레베 인자 되게 다 따고에 차서 말해 돈이는 따고인 거래 따고이네 네 디미 세베 세워선다네 군조된 뭐 인고래 난다 란주바다 셈자도즈 안다 란주바게 데 고된 군조된 뭐 차고라 tenjuwe mare duniri la gora chesan di ta tagore tenyu ga yores te tawa mare sonda des tini sanje ji goma tebe tu bashi la chunya ani midago mahis tagore so ra gyujin ji dumache so gyujin ji dumache ani gyujin ji so shin jodin de ke mares ne dumache so tawa yin ba ne rashi shin du juwa min ba tawa rashi yin so dumache mares duche mares dumache res ranshin shin de gyue yo mares ko duwa seba di jigle sa di ranshin shin de gyue mares ta de la samu ta to ranshin shin de gyue me we inza ta gwa ranshin res che de ko den ji da ko ji sorry da ji mas tishe jumze ni zi song do de ro
So with regards to these two purities, it is not an easy point to understand because, the factor of natural purity, although, itself is a permanent phenomena. So true cessation is a permanent phenomena. But, according to the lower schools below Prasangika Madhyamika, it's a relative truth because that cessation has to have a cause. But the cessation itself is permanent according to the Madhyamika Prasangikas. So one has to understand these two purities, purity of adventitious defilements and natural purity, in terms of whether they are permanent, impermanent.
dadi chunanzo yangje yangsi logli ni agora
It is good for us to read this again and again.
ko den doni ba de samu ko khagoyo ro
Although it occurs only when Buddhahood is attained, it is not impermanent. It is not constructed through causes and conditions. It has a nature of permanence, that is, not changing into something of another nature.
Nigu sade tadera nigu sade
Zela.
da inzan de jujinji dumache dan ranshin shin du gyuwa me wata juji dumache yin la na da ko ta wa yin la wa da dawre ranshin shin du gyuwa yo mar se de ko te si da ma do da dumache re la wa da jumzin shi da ma se she ge sur shi ranshin shin du gyuwa yo mar se la de ko dimye bang ba chik cha sa de 타고 방법 많이 봐야라고 나 되죠. 아마 가도 있나 방법 찾아와 되게 요인자. 네, 다고레스. 다 같이 그 다시 단 거라. 아니, 사마 예고는 민도 산제산을 내셔서. 아, 다디 교요 말에 춘이그란 신나가 같이 송래서 춘이란 신. 그래서 공대시에서 루남다게 다자죠로. 루나가 답에 다자디. 나 타면 내가 그란 신이 내리기 저게 심이 딩기. 대동티니기 내줄 타지 마서 텔레파 내줄 그랬어. 디미 방바디 타고 다자디 싱비딩이 춘이가 봐 줄성을 했고 내줄 그랬어. 내줄 타둑. 아데 마세우가 젠송이 오다라.
This is a point of debate because some say the state of this result of absence, meaning these purities, are not attained until Buddhahood is got. But on the other hand, even in the ordinary state, we would say that there is this Ranshin Nerik, which even during the ordinary state is posited as a naturally abiding lineage. So these 2 points are up for debate in terms of these 2 purities. The first one is that the adventitious stains are purified. But the second one is that there's a naturally abiding purity anyway because they were empty from the outset.
뭐야 다드네 니와 이시추고로 이시추고데 가르스다 완전 담무 거대와 시야잖아 산제이 나 완전 미지는 미디줄라 셔와요로 봐
Yeah,
아니 산제데 간사로 봐 산제 결론 넘버도 미르바고 미연자 거줄라 셔와요로 봐 뒤주기 셔와데 니 데라 이시추고스라 담무 거대와 시야잖아 데레
essentially with the wisdom truth body, Ishichuku, a bhikshu or a person has a mind, and the wisdom truth body is the exalted omniscient wisdom that directly perceives all phenomena, that is the purified mind.
다디 가르스나 시제 치다와 니 동반이 소리로 봐 시제 치다와 동반이 진이바 스디네 군조된 바소로 다초 탐제에 되나 동반이다 군조되면 난 뒤로 라 대반이는 뒤로 걸어 아니 전화된 군조되면 이는 뒤로 걸어 시제 지도 왔어야 돼 전화된 바치 진이 왔어야 돼 군조된 바레스 최 타다서도 최 타다서도 최 탐제에 송거를 봐 시제 지도 왔다 진이에 최 타다서도 어디 라니지 되나 요거 다른 무슨 데스베 군지시 디스 최 탐제 먼저디 조제간을 포워야 되는 것이 동부였다 시구였다 봐 대외 로또는 같이 참만 단단하게 조제간을 포워야 되는 것이 어떤 레직 시도고요 근데 시도니들라 이시 주고스 챘나고요 레스로
So this wisdom truth body, the exalted omniscient wisdom that directly perceives all modes and varieties of objects of knowledge, meaning that the relative truths, the way things appear, and their ultimate nature, emptiness, are all perceived as if one can see a cup in the table in front of oneself. All phenomena appear like that.
오야 다들라 도전에 이나 도배천에들 봐 민기 여러 쉐베이나 chan조소 된지 디자인에 남제지 파사메시 디자인이지 유주소 다 사메 디자인이지 자도 월만 송비 연송샤는 데와 뭐데 마티시 자용웨스 여와도서 다마데 요레스 투고 연대 집에 갈수서 구순 투고 연대 집에 갈수 근데 원유가 이시초고데 산제 남편지 코네 유유 무슨 부유점이 세상다데 예와들라야 chan조소된 디자인에 남제지 바로서 chan조소도 디자인에서 산제지 촌에서 맨남이다 배 산제 도에는 산제 촌에 최 탐제가 바로겠지 일라 상매지 디자인이 직사죠 다들 저게 연대에서 월마 시기 연송자 다디 잠마세 아니 덴데게 또 이시주고들 체조 가려라서나 이시주고레 모니고레 디니가 산제 남편주 미시지게다 샘제 수치게 또 두고요 맞다 무슨 데서 왔다 당저 윤제 이제 제박도 또 쳐보라 김쟁도 쳐보라 김쟁도 그냥서 이주고요 두고래 롱게 두고래 릭베 두고래 무슨 데도 해야 말아 무슨 데 신예데 자세 파고다 사주가 저 무슨 데 친구 말에 산제 주시고데 데 산제 남편주 코네 무슨 지 주레스 어디 시고라
Goes on to explain what are those objects of knowledge in categories, conceptual isolates. There are 21 of uncontaminated exalted wisdom, ranging from the 37 harmonies with enlightenment through to exalted knowledge of all aspects. These are explained when we go through the mental qualities of a Buddha. Also, in terms of who can see the 2 bodies of a Buddha, the nature and the wisdom truth bodies are only mutually perceived by Buddhas. So, of course, that means directly seen by valid cognition. Others can do that through inferential cognition and reasoning. But even the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva can't see the nature and wisdom, truth bodies of a Buddha. Only another Buddha can.
Oh yeah, that didn't think of Shasha.
Let's stop for today.
Page 31 for the dedication and prayers of Mandala. Page 31.
Sangye Shindu Shima Chopang Shin
Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, my I quickly attained the state of the Guru Buddha, and laid all of the things without exception into their life and made supreme jewel body cheated and does not arisen and rise and grow, and made that which does not diminish but increase. So whatever side culture potential I may have created, by rejoicing with the great I now dedicate all this to Buddha awakening. I dedicate all these groups of virtue with the dedication praises to this. By the victorious one goes on the 3 times, that I might perform the noble ones which is deeds. May the King of Dharma Tsongkhapa's way of Dharma practice and flourish. May the realms of law schools be sanctified, and all the conducive circumstances be given. We wish granting this fulfilling joy, those of every single benefit and happiness in this world. Within the big private kind, since in backslide siege. By the royal wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Savior of the snow that teachings and transmigration makes extremely clear the path is unification of emptiness and compassion. To the lotus holder tempting backside the siege. By royal wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You uphold the subduer's moral way, with those of bountiful bear uphold. Sustaining, preserving, and spreading Janana's victorious doctrine. We masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers, honoring the 3 jewels. That of myself and others, your disciples, please, so they return. By allowing the 2 relations of myself and others of the 3 times. And the evening of the conqueror, love center of the legends for another. Oh, sorry, return. Fearless teacher and everything the children of the victorious ones, Shravas and Pratik twins, Chariots, and father and son, belong to the luckiest masters. All the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Only in spreading the money's precious and complete teachings, with explanation and practice, you will be that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable glory to you and place. By striving to more pointedly for the sake of victorious one's teachings, the soul gateway to which all benefit and happiness emerge. And all other living beings who suddenly look back to infants, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the unceasing truth of the blessing of the ocean of the 3 joy, the body sheet of the children of victorious ones, may the smile of her incarnation swiftly lead in glory proportions disciples.
Okay. Good night. Someone online.